Today is Sunday, June 7th. Went and did some DoorDash this morning. I'm actually put in my 2 weeks on Friday, so I won't have a job in 2 weeks. I will be starting the financial advising company, Piertree Planning. Got the LLC all set up. Submitting the documents to the state hopefully this week, and then it should only be like 30 days after that max before I hear something back. And then I'm hoping I just can get clients and start making money through the business. I don't want to have to do DoorDash for a long time, but I mean, if it's needed, business is going to launch in about a month, and I just got to get clients as fast as possible after that. That's all it really comes down to. How I do it, I've got several different marketing options, things I'm going to be doing, and just see what works the best. And this is where it all starts, man. It's all starting now. I'm so tired, man. This is just a lot of work, and it's stressful. That Jesus Christ. There's just a lot of moving parts, and I love it. When I have a couple clients, I'll love it even more, because I don't know if what I'm doing works or will work. When I watch this exact video in like 25, 30 years, and I have the company that I'm envisioning right now, I hope you're fucking happy, dude. You fucking cap too much, bro. Dude, I'm such an idiot. Like, I'm just stupid, man. We're building a legacy, man. We are building a legacy, and you guys are here to witness it.
It's been 606 days since I quit my job in the middle of the pandemic and started the business. And right now I'm in New York City in a maybe 75 square foot hotel room because I needed a mental health break from everything. Like, I was dangerously depressed, anxious, and really just burnt out with everything. But in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my story and my journey, because I haven't really had a chance to reflect on everything that's happened over the past 18, 19 months since I took the leap into entrepreneurship. And I just want to kind of tell my story, share some of the lessons I've learned. So a quick explainer of how I got to where I am right now. On July 29th, 2020, I launched Piertree Planning, which is a modern financial planning firm with the goal of providing financial planning, investment management, and financial advice to my generation, like recent graduates and young professionals, because I mean, from what I saw, like, the financial industry has just neglected younger people forever, like never given us the attention that we needed and truly deserve. Financial advisors have always had high account minimums, and that makes financial advice borderline inaccessible unless you already have a lot of money, and that still just like doesn't make sense to me. So that was like one of the core reasons for even wanting to start the business in the first place. But to take a step back, there was a lot that had to happen before starting the business and before quitting my job. So I want to kind of tell that backstory and just a little bit of my thought process, because I think the way that I approached it and the way that I safely left my job and started a business and became an entrepreneur can actually help a lot of people. Just for a little context, I grew up in a super small town in the middle of Kansas. There was like 1,000 people. My graduating class was like 32 people, and I ended up going to college like 15 minutes away in another pretty small town. And I played baseball there, got my business finance and marketing degree, and then graduated college and went into the 9-to-5 life. But before that happened, between my junior and senior year of college that summer, I took a door-to-door sales job down in Miami, Florida. And I had never been to Miami. I had never done sales before. I'd never had like a real job before. Like, I'd worked at KFC. I was a farmhand, and I was a plumber. Like, those were the only like work experiences that I'd ever had. And I didn't even really know what sales was. Like, I just figured it's like this sleazy thing. You're trying to trick people into buying something. But it was in Miami, so I was 100% down for it. And then when I got there, I learned that that's not what sales is whatsoever. My manager and my trainer, Chad Oram, was amazing. He taught me the actual right way to do sales and the right way to approach it, because in the end, you're really just problem solving. And I loved that aspect of it. And because I was an athlete, I loved the competition with myself. Like, every single door, I would just try and get better and better at my pitch. And then when I actually made my first sale, it was just game over from there. I was like, I know I'm going to be doing this in some aspect for the rest of my life, because it was just absolutely addicting. I loved the rush of the sale. Like, I couldn't get enough of it. But I wasn't in love with the product that we were selling. Like, I was working for Vivint Smart Home. So if you ever seen like the little orange circles, the home security system, smart home things, I was the person knocking on your door, interrupting your dinner. But I just wasn't like in love with the product. It was awesome, but I knew I wasn't going to sell that forever, so I needed to figure something out. And when I went back to college for my senior year, after I finished up that summer, I just distinctly remember sitting on the futon in our little apartment Googling like financial sales jobs, because I was a finance major. Now I know that I like sales, so I was just going to figure out how to kind of combine those, and that's what I was going to do. But I found financial advisor pretty quick and just kind of went down that rabbit hole of learning what a financial advisor is, learning what they do, and then started doing more research. Like, okay, there's some advisors here in my college town. I'm going to reach out to them and just kind of learn more, and maybe one of them will be my mentors or something. So I reached out to a couple, met with a few people from Edward Jones, and I thought everything was going great. And I learned that Edward Jones did door-to-door knocking as kind of like their business development. And I thought it was absolutely perfect. Like, I wanted to do door to door. That was whoever I was going to work for. Door to door is going to be my main thing, because I learned that I loved that in Miami. So I went through like the whole application process with Edward Jones in my senior year. I did it with a few other places too, like Merrill Lynch, Raymond James, and a couple other, I can't remember, but kind of just like all the big names. And I just got repeatedly turned down from all these places because I didn't have a massive network of rich friends to just immediately sell to and try and bring on investments and assets and all this stuff. It was just, that was disheartening, because I didn't want to work with old rich people that had a lot of money. Like, I wanted to work with my generation, like recent graduates and young professionals, and those places thought I was crazy for just even having that idea. So all that kind of ended like the spring of my senior year, got rejected from everywhere. I didn't really know what I was going to do. We were still in the middle of baseball season, so I was kind of just focused on that. Not really too worried about what I was going to do after graduation. Like, worst case scenario, I was going to go work for Vivint again and just keep slinging smart homes. But like a week before graduation, I got a job offer from a place up here in Kansas City, which is where I'm at right now, and paid like $42,000. There was like a $2,000 signing bonus, and I didn't have anything at the time, so came up here, did the interview, got the job, moved up here as soon as I graduated, and just kind of started that normal 9 to 5 post-graduation life. But I still had the idea of being a financial advisor, and I hadn't completely figured out how I was going to do it yet. But I knew that having savings wasn't going to be a bad thing for whatever I was going to do. So, of course, like, as soon as I got my first paycheck and that signing bonus, like, I spent it on a lot of cool things because I had never had money before. But after I kind of got that spending out of my system, I fell back, just kind of kept my same like college expenses. Like, I mean, I wasn't paying rent in college. It was kind of like lumped into tuition and everything. So expenses obviously went up a little bit, but I was just still continuing to live like a college student and saving as much as I could every month. Then a few months later, I was still on the idea of like figuring out how to become a financial advisor, and I ran across a blog that was titled like how I started my financial planning firm for $12,000 in the first year. I was like, I am on track to hit that savings goal with what I'm doing right now. I didn't know you could start your own business. What's going on here? So I just dove into that, and that blog kind of changed everything for me. So I read through the whole thing probably 10 times. Everything was just super crystal clear to me. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I knew I could save this money. There was a lot of detail within the post for further research, so I really just dove into it. And at the same time, I had already started creating like financial education content a little bit with 90s to now. It's like I wanted to be a creator first. Like I wanted to create like financial education content, and I started doing it. Like I started a blog. It was called like 90s to now because I wanted to educate people like growing up in the 90s, because again, that was my generation, and just educate like personal finance that way. And I mean, I posted maybe like 4 things. It was just like a shitty WordPress site, and I had absolutely no clue how I was going to grow a blog or why anyone would listen to me. Like I didn't have any credibility. So that was like another piece of why I wanted to start the business. And I also knew that content and creation could serve as top of funnel for the business. So I could, one, have the credibility for people to believe what I'm saying and like trust me. Like it would take so much longer to just like do that as a person instead of like being a financial planner and like having the education, having the licensing and all that. Like it felt like it would set me apart. And while being a financial advisor was the main goal, I truly at the core wanted to be a content creator. I had seen people on YouTube, I'd seen people write blogs for years, and I just wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to put financial education content out into the world, but I didn't understand how I was going to do that with no credibility or anything. So I was just going to use like content creation and everything as the marketing for the business. So everything would kind of just play together. I would get to make the content, I would get to start the business, which would help give me credibility, and then doing all the content would hopefully drive business back into the business. So now at this point, this is probably August 2018, and I had a pretty clear idea for what I was working towards. Like I was saving as much money as possible to be able to start a business. I knew like all the licensing and everything I needed to actually be a financial advisor. I kind of had the marketing ideas in place. And then the fun part started where I could start making plans and come up with a company name and do the branding and start like trying to build a website, just do all the fun stuff. And in this process, I came up with a whole bunch of ideas that I didn't really have in mind before. So the idea was Piertree, which is still kind of the main holding company of everything, was going to be the main thing, Piertree LLC, and then everything was going to be alliterative branched off of that. So it was like Piertree Planning was the financial planning, Piertree Productions was going to be like a marketing firm sort of thing. That didn't really play out how I wanted it to. Piertree Properties, which that's still in the works, is going to be like real estate investing and providing affordable housing. Piertree Provides, which is going to be a nonprofit, and everything was just going to kind of be built off of Piertree. So I had the idea in place, I was saving money, and really the next thing that I needed to do was just pass the licensing to actually be able to be a financial advisor. And I'm not going to lie, I failed the test 3 times because I could not study after college. Like it was so challenging for me. I would spend so much time on it, and I just like struggled to retain information, mostly because the test that I needed to pass was basically the bar exam for finances. Like it wasn't anything about actual financial planning, personal finance, helping people with their money, like none of that stuff. It was just like regulatory laws, stuff that was written in like the 1930s. Like it was just challenging for me. So I failed it 3 times. First wasn't even close. Like I was just super underprepared for it. Second time missed it by 1 question, which I think it's 120 questions or 130. Third time missed it by 1 question, and then I had to wait 6 months to take it again. And keep in mind, like this is literally all I need to start the business was money, which I was getting very close to at the time, and then this license. And I failed it 3 times, so that was like 4 months of just pain. Like I was studying, had to keep paying for it also, and it was just beating me down. It's like maybe this isn't meant to be. Like I can't even get through the stupid test. And then I had to wait 6 months after failing it the 3rd time, and then I think I probably got 100% on the 4th one when I finally passed it, because I was like, I can't wait any longer, and I need this. And I really like couldn't wait any longer, because now at this point, this is 2020. So I kind of failed the last one. So I passed it in May. I would have failed the last one like December 2019. So then as soon as it opened it up in May 2020 for me to take it again, one, I was scared I wasn't going to be able to take it, because that was like the heart of COVID and everything. And I actually got to go in person to a testing center, get my test done, because it's like a security thing. Like, I couldn't do it virtual. They might be doing that now, but at the time, no one knew anything. So went in person, took it, passed it, and then about 2 weeks later, I put in my 2 weeks for my job. I had already started the registration process for the business. As soon as I passed, like literally that day, I got home, started the registration, because I was like, I need to get out of this job as soon as possible. One, because they weren't really allowing remote or virtual work when everyone in the world wasn't supposed to be in person. So that kind of pissed me off a little bit. And then they just started firing people. Like, we were working in teams. I think there was 6 or 7 of us. They fired half my team on a Friday morning, and I was like the team coordinator, so a lot more work got put on me, and it was super stressful. And I had already been planning for 2 years that I was going to start my own business and quit that job. So all of that playing into it just made the decision that much easier. So passed the Series 65, got my license, quit my job, and at this point, it is June 2020. Again, just kind of like right in the middle of the pandemic, quit my job, had about $20,000 in savings, and was just kind of waiting for the registration to get the business started. Then on July 29th, 2020, the business was registered with the state and ready to go. So went live with the website, posted on social media, and that was day one of the Piertree journey. But the important part about everything that I've said so far and how I got to the point of starting the business was all about planning. Like, I knew exactly how much I needed to have saved. I started saving that money, and I had a plan for how I was going to quit and how I was going to make money after I quit if the business didn't take off as fast as I wanted it to. And all of those kind of like worst case scenarios happened, and luckily I had planned for it, or else I don't really know if I would be here today. Like, I would have probably had to go back and take another 9-to-5 job. I don't know if I would have been able to maintain the business and a job at the same time. Like, it would have just been a whole mess if I hadn't done the proper planning ahead of time. And I'm going to dive into this a lot more in the future and in other videos, but I kind of call this the planning effect. So I had everything ready. I had my content strategy out there, my marketing plan, my business development, just all that sort of stuff. Website was ready. The brand was pretty good in my opinion. And everything just started like super, super slow. Like, I didn't even hear from anyone for like the first 2 months. And at the time, I thought the world was ending. Like, it really felt like it. I thought I had made the worst decision of my life. And then at the time, I was also doing DoorDash because I didn't have any income whatsoever. So I would start at like 7 a.m., go till about 1 p.m., but I could have my phone with me the whole time, so I could like post on social media, reply to people if I needed to. And I didn't have any clients at the time, so I didn't really have to worry about client work. Like, I was just worried about actually getting the clients in the first place. So I was writing like a weekly blog, making a weekly video, doing all the sort of like right content stuff that you should be doing, but like nothing was still really working for me. And looking back now, I know it was literally only 2 months. Like, you can't judge content based on that. But I also knew I needed credibility of some sort. Like, I wasn't a financial planner before. I had never owned a business. I had never done anything that I was doing. So I didn't know like why someone would trust me, especially when this is like one of the hardest businesses you can start. Like, the only way that I can make money is if I can get other people to trust me with their money. Like, that is a huge hurdle and a transaction to go through. So I thought that I needed like more credibility. So I started reaching out to publications to try and get quotes so I could put the logos on my website to show that like I knew what I was talking about. National brands recognize me, all this sort of stuff. And I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but I got 2 media features within like a couple weeks of each other, put them on my website. Within like 2 or 3 weeks after that, I had my first 2 clients. And I don't know if like that credibility and the logos, everything, whatever helped, but it worked for me. And I just strongly believe in the power of credibility and the power of putting yourself out there. So I thought everything was going great. Like, I kind of figured everything out. Content was starting to work. Email marketing was working. That's how I got my first client, and I was starting to get credibility. And I thought like money was going to start rolling in pretty soon. Like, I would sign a couple clients a month, and in a few months I would be profitable. But That's actually so far from what happened. So I signed my first client in November 2020. So a few months after I started back in July. And at the time, I was still doing DoorDash because I just needed income. And going through November, like I was working on onboarding those clients and everything. And a week before Thanksgiving, my car got stolen just out of our apartment parking lot. And I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do. Like that vehicle was my only way to make money at the time. Like I was putting rent on credit because I didn't have enough cash on hand to be able to afford it. So I would put it on credit, hopefully be able to DoorDash enough the next month to be able to pay it off from the previous month, and I was just living paycheck to paycheck in that cycle. So then when my car was stolen, I thought it was all over. Like I had no clue what I was going to do. I called my dad at like 6 o'clock in the morning and was just bawling my eyes out. It really just felt like the end of the road. And the story of how I got my car back is absolutely insane. That's going to be its own video. But I got it back a day before Thanksgiving, and I mean, it was completely destroyed. Like some meth heads took it. There was free meth in the car. The cops didn't even take anything out of the car. There was just like old food, their old clothes, meth, just like shit everywhere. It was disgusting, and they wrecked it. They stole the back seat. Anything that you can like pull off of a car, they pulled off, and I no longer have. So all of that happened. Luckily, I had just enough in my emergency fund to be able to fix my car and get it up and running. Like it's still pretty messed up even to this day. Like there's still a massive dent in it. There's still cuts all over. I still don't have a back seat. But I was able to start earning income and door dashing again, which was just massive for me. So started doing that through December, January, February again, and that was really my life for probably the first 8-9 months of entrepreneurship. Was just doing DoorDash from 7 a.m. to like 1 p.m. sometimes at night as well if I needed to make more money, and then just creating and marketing and doing everything in all the free time that I could find. And I knew DoorDash wasn't sustainable. Like I drive a Jeep Wrangler, it gets like 16 miles to the gallon. Like I was barely just getting by with it. And then when gas prices started to go up, I was like, oh, this is going to be a problem. Like I can't keep doing this. And this is when I found freelancing, which completely changed the game for me across the board. I saw a tweet from someone I follow, Alex Cavalieri, the co-founder of Seven Group. They were looking for a content writer, and they're a financial advisor marketing firm. And because I had already been doing content writing for myself, I was like, this could be something for me. Like I'm not a bad writer. I have a little bit of experience just from doing it for myself. Like I'm going to apply to this and just see if this can be something to help me earn income and to help replace DoorDash. So I reached out, turned out it wasn't like necessarily the right fit at the time. They had some other things going on with their business, and they're like, whenever it's time, we'll reach back out and see if it's still something that you're interested in. So fast forward to April 2021, so just a little over a year ago, they reached back out, wanted me to submit a sample piece of writing, and I can't remember what the topic was, but wrote it, submitted it, and got a freelance contract offer for 6 months. It was 8 articles a month. I don't think I can disclose how much it was, but it was enough to pay my bills, and that was it. And that was exactly what I needed. So then at that time, I was basically just a freelancer. Like I had a few financial planning clients, but I was spending all my time on freelancing because that was the thing that was actually paying my bills. So I just dedicated all my time to becoming a better freelancer and learning about freelancing and just learning how to become a better writer. And luckily I got to work with, I swear, like one of the best editors in the world. She helped me pretty much go from nothing to actually having something worth reading. Like it was just honestly life-changing. Like the ability to write and communicate your ideas in a consumable and understandable way is very underrated, and the fact that I was getting paid to learn that is just insane to me. But I was learning all these things about freelancing, and then something just clicked. It was probably in like May or June last year. I was like, freelancers are basically just small business owners. Like there's a lot going on here. There's a lot to think about, and the finances of it are no different than a normal business owner who's just a solopreneur or hires out like other contractors and stuff. I'm like there's a lot of like financial planning opportunities around here, and I'm experiencing all this firsthand myself. So then I came up with the idea just doing more like financial coaching and stuff for other freelancers and creators who were doing the same things as me. So I made the mental decision. I didn't do anything with the business itself yet, but I decided that I was going to shut down the business, pivot into just financial coaching for freelancers and creators, and just kind of leave behind the like true financial planning itself, like the investment management, the tax planning, all that. I was like, I just kind of want to focus on the financial coaching, and if someone needs like the deeper advice and everything, I know other financial planners that I could send them to. So that was the idea in June 2021. Then a few weeks later, I got a DM from an advisor that I'm friends with who said his employee, the advisor who was working with him, was growing super fast, and he wasn't in a position to kind of like support his growth. So his advisor was either going to need to start his own business or join another growing firm. And because we were kind of like the same age, doing the same thing, working with the same sort of people, he figured that we might be a good fit, introed that, and that one little DM kind of just jump started the next phase of the business. I had already made the mental decision to shut down the business, everything, but now I had to make the conscious decision to bring on a partner, figure out how I was going to grow this business, and completely pivot everything that I'd already decided I was going to do otherwise. So in August 2021, I drove up to Indianapolis to meet with Thomas in person, work through some business things together, and we decided that Piertree Planning wasn't going to be the name for the new firm. We wanted something that just kind of spoke to our demographic a little bit more, and I came up with the name AllStreet Wealth with the idea of it being like Wall Street, but for everyone, and we just kind of ran with that, and then rebranded the firm and everything to AllStreet Wealth, and relaunched it on September 1st, 2021. And now fast forward to today, June 1st, 2022, we have been up and running for 9 months with AllStreet Wealth. We just had our first $10,000 month last month, so that was super exciting, but there's been just so much that has happened that I didn't even plan for, that I didn't expect, and also that I couldn't even fit into this video. Like, this is going to be just kind of the starting point of everything. I'm going to go back and just kind of tell more stories, but I wanted to get this video out there and just kind of tell my story a little bit. And through everything, like, I still feel like a creator at my core. Like, that's what I want to be doing long term. I don't want to be a hands-on financial planner for the rest of my life. Like, I want to have my set of like 10, 20, 30 clients that I get to work with. I absolutely love them, build deep relationships with them, and then all the rest of my time is spent creating. But before we go, I want to share a few lessons that I've learned in starting the business, because I kind of just told a lot of my story and I want this to be somewhat actionable. And first thing I want to say is, don't be romantic with your ideas. Like, if you're starting your very first business, I can almost guarantee that all the first ideas that you have are not going to be what you end up with if you end up successful. Like, you're going to have to embrace pivoting and embrace new ideas and just kind of go with the flow and trust yourself. Like, that just sounded very fluffy and like I didn't actually say anything, but like it's true. Like, if I didn't embrace pivoting and I would have just been in love with my very original idea, I would not be here today. Second, don't get tired before they get interested. Like, you are going to have to repeat your story and your marketing and your messages and all that stuff so many times before anyone even pays attention to it. You're going to think that you're crazy while you're doing it. And you can't stop marketing, and you just can't get tired before anyone actually gets interested in what you're sharing. Third, you have to manage your cash flow effectively, or you're not going to have a business. And it's reported that the number one reason that small businesses fail is because of a lack of cash flow and poor cash flow management. And for me, this was very, very interesting, because I had enough savings to make the business run for a year without needing any income, which was huge, because that took a lot of pressure off just trying to make money from the business right away. But my personal finances were just in shambles. Like I was doing DoorDash, putting rent on credit, hoping I could earn enough the next month to pay it off. But I knew exactly what I was doing. I never missed a payment, was never late on anything because I was managing my cash flow. It was extremely tight, but I knew the numbers and I knew what was coming in each month and I knew how much was going out each month, even though it hurt. Fourth, you have to set aside money for taxes. And this isn't something that I've had a problem with, but from talking with other people, it's something that's not really known until tax time comes. So, my recommendation whenever you're earning money from a business, set aside 20, 25, 30% if you want to be super careful of every payment you get. Put it in a separate savings account. Just leave it there for tax time if you don't need it and you have enough deductions and things to lower your tax bill more than what you were expecting. Treat that money as a bonus. Go on vacation with it or just kind of roll it into next year. And the last thing I want to say is that your skill set and your business is an investment. When you're just getting started, the money that you put towards building skills and marketing and all that sort of stuff is way more valuable than trying to be financially prudent and put money aside for savings and investments and all this stuff. Like if you're able to, definitely do it. But if you're kind of like me and you were just bootstrapping everything and didn't really have any extra funds and everything you had was this business succeeding, don't feel bad if you're not able to set aside money for savings or investments. Like your business and your skills are 100% an investment, and if you invest in them, they will provide you returns over time. But that's all I got. I know I rambled a lot, and with editing this, I'm not even sure if this is going to sound good all put together, but I just really wanted to get this initial video out there, tell a little bit of my story so I can start making more videos. But if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and we'll catch you in the next one.